Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. If you used phillyvoice.com to link into the show, thank you much for that. Thanks to our streamers hitting us up on the feed. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We've still got, an hour to go with you guys, including a chance to have a conversation with John Clark of NBC Sports coming up in just a couple. Do want to narrow down some things we were talking about last hour, John, about the Eagles' upcoming pick at number 12. If they stay at 12, they're going to make a selection. You're thinking that they will stick to their operation manual that they've used for years. When you have a high enough pick, you need to stay inside the ball. You need to stay in the trenches. You need to go quarterback. We all believe they're not going quarterback, that they're not going to go outside to wide receivers and or cornerbacks. I see the biggest need being cornerback on this team as of right now, and I see potential value of where guys sit on the board if we've got them right reading. It's all speculation on who are going to go during the first 11 picks. I think there's a very good chance that a player at one of those two positions is going to be there, be available, should be high on the Eagles board so that they take them. I'm looking forward to having your guest on next week, the former scout who was there in draft rooms and was a process of putting together draft boards. My belief always is that you should not sway much from your draft board, that there needs to be some flexibility there, but not a ton of flexibility that you're just drafting for need. That's when you quote unquote reach. And when you reach, chances are you're not going to take the best player for your team. You're going to end up paying a price for it down the road. I say a slot or two. If you've got a guy who's within a slot or two of your top name on the board and he's a better positional fit, then that's not a reach for me. I guarantee you that there will be a wide receiver and or a cornerback who is within a slot or two of the top of the Eagles board, unless they're just so married to this that they're overrating offensive linemen and defensive linemen in putting their board together, knowing that they have to then pick someone in that position. As I said, we'll get somebody who's done it for a living, been part of an organization, put together a draft board. My take is that you never get more than a pick or two, a spot or two away from your overall draft board when you make the pick. Do you think that the Eagles will forego something like that and not worry about it and take someone just because of positional? Or do you think they're the kind of organization that stays true to their draft board?
Well, no, on the second part at times, and I'll give you an example of that, but we are going to have Blake Bedingfield on, I think, Tuesday of next week, and I'm pretty excited about that because he was the director of college scouting for the Titans for almost 2 decades. So you're right. He knows how boards are put together. He knows how they're structured and how things like that happen. But if you want to go back to Eagles specific, let's go back to the Jalen Hurts pick at number 53 overall. How it was told to me, and other reporters have reported the same thing, that if we're up to the scouting staff, Jeremy Chin would have been the pick at number 53 overall. And the staff, that the personnel guys were arguing between Jeremy Chin and J.K. Dobbins, who's the running back for the Baltimore Ravens, who was, I think, picked 55. So it was picked really close. So you could see they had a good sort of theory on the board at the particular time. And then all of a sudden, Jeffrey Lurie comes in, puts his thumb on the scale. Jalen Hurts has built up Eagle. The rest is history. Now, Jody, maybe that works out. The value of that position is even higher than the value of offensive, defensive linemen. So the story is still to be told there. But what I will say is that these arguments, these discussions, whatever you want to call them, shouldn't be happening on draft day. The plan should already be laid out. The contingencies should be there. Everybody should be on the same page on draft night. That's my concern with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's the dysfunction people have been talking about.
All right, I'm going to give you a hypothetical, and I'm absolutely admitting that it is a hypothetical. I have no idea if this is how it's going to shake out, but for debate and conversational sake, let's believe that this is the case. Let's say when the Eagles come up at number 12, that J.C. Horn is available. Patrick Surtain has been picked off the board, but the second best quarterback, at least in most people's evaluations, is sitting there. That Elijah Vera Tucker, the offensive lineman from USC, is also still available. And whoever you think, I'll give you anyone on the defensive line. I do not believe there will be a defensive lineman taken in the first 11 picks in the draft. So you can take any defensive lineman if you want to take a different offensive lineman other than Penei Sewell and or Slater. Go ahead and tell me you'd rather have that guy. If all of those guys are available, you think the Eagles are going to take either an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman over a guy like J.C. Horn?
Well, first of all, if Sewell or Slater are available, and I don't think there's any way they will be, that's the pick. And that's not a need pick, obviously, but those guys are too good. They're taking them, but I don't think they'll be there. If what you're saying is the decision is between J.C. Horn, even throw in the Alabama receivers if one of the two is there, Smith or Waddle, and then you start talking about Kwity Paye. There's late buzz around Christian Barmore, which would drive the Eagles fans insane at defensive tackle. But nonetheless, I'd take door number C, Jody. Why not trade down again a couple spots where there's more value for a Kwity Paye or a Christian Barmore, add some more assets, maybe move up the board later to get a Rashad Bateman at receiver late in the first round? You could do it that way.
But that's so hard to project.
No, well, yeah.
In a perfect world, I'd be able to tell you the perfect pick for me is going to be number 27. That's where I want to select at the 27th pick in the first round, and I want to add additional draft capital in 2 first rounders, the second rounder, the fourth rounder, spread out over 2021, 2022, 2023.
I understand.
That's not realistic.
It is realistic. The realistic part is matching up. No, I'm not telling you they're going to trade a 4th round pick and a 3rd round pick and move back up. All I'm saying is you're trying to match up value with what you believe in.
Sure.
So if you don't think Paye is as valuable at 12, or you think you can get him later, well, maybe you try to do that. That's all I'm saying. Instead of taking a player at a position you don't value as much.
I completely understand it. You'd make a damn good general manager, as a matter of fact, John McMullen. But the problem with that is if you like a guy like Paye, we'll use him as an example.
Or you could just take him because you like him.
Right. But you don't actually believe he's good value at 12. Well, where would he be good value? Well, number 17. Yeah. Can you get to 17? The problem with that is it takes 2 to tango.
Somebody, yeah, exactly.
Right. The team at 17 must that, we'd actually like to move up to 12. And then you got to agree on how much value it is for those 5 slots. That's pretty damn difficult to do. It's not easy, but it's overly optimistic to believe that you can get exactly the player at exactly the draft slot you want. Sometimes it does work out that way. And I'll give Howie this much. I think he's been above average, not well above average, but above average at being able to be Monty Hall on draft day, leading up to draft day, be able to make trades, give up draft capital, take back in extra draft capital when he drops down. I think Howie's been pretty good at that. You have to be a magician to get exactly the guy you want at exactly the slot where the draft value matches up.
Hey, I'm not arguing with you there. I say all the time, I say fans, say just trade up. Well, as you said, you need 2 to tango.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't, and sometimes you have to stay there and you have to make a decision because you don't have a trading partner. And that's going to be interesting because, most boards in this league would have J.C. Horn over Kwity Paye. So, that's a difficult decision. Yeah, most. but then the other stuff comes into it. Now, the Eagles have a need position. I hear they like J.C. So maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe they say they like the player. We need an outside corner. Maybe we buck against the trend. Maybe they take the kid. I've also seen some recent mock drafts from plugged-in guys that say Surtain and Horn won't be there. And in that instance, both of them will be off the board. They're not going to take Calipari because of the back issues. Then what do you do? All these contingencies, and that's my point, Jody. You have to work out all of these sort of paths and avenues before the draft. But it's pretty clear the Eagles haven't been doing that, at least at times at the top of the draft.
If both of the corners are gone, then I'm pretty darn sure that one of the two Alabama wide receivers will be available, because there are only 11 picks that are going to come off the board before the Eagles pick. And if two of them are cornerbacks, then I doubt three of them are going to be wide receivers. So there will be a position where I think they could still use more of an upgrade, and an upgrade at a positional value, at least my rankings of the players at the draft, to be able to take that guy, than reaching for a Kwity Paye, because he's a defensive lineman, and history dictates that the Philadelphia Eagles have to take defensive linemen when they're in the first half of the NFL draft.
We're kind of downplaying Kwity Paye. I mean, he is a big-time prospect. He is top 20 on most people's board. Some people, because of the position he plays, will push him up the board, because you mentioned this is not a year where there's a Myles Garrett or a Jadeveon Clowney, but that's a position not just the Eagles, but this entire league values. What I mentioned, Christian Barmore at defensive tackle. Now, people are starting to talk about him moving up the board pretty quickly, because he's the only interior defensive lineman. So if you need one, you better get him, because there's a big drop off between 1 and 2. All these things come into play. I do think people are acting like Kwity Paye is just garbage. I mean, he's a good prospect. He's not Myles Garrett, but he's a good player. And I think ultimately, like Brandon Graham, look, there's a lot of revisionist history, Jody. You know, you've been around for a long time. Who went right after Brandon Graham? Earl Thomas, Jason Pierre-Paul. The fan base was upset. Brandon Graham outlasted both of them with their original teams, and is an Eagles legend, being an Eagles Hall of Famer, made the biggest play in franchise history. Sometimes what looks good on draft night, probably the best indication, is Ricky Williams versus Donovan McNabb. Sometimes it looks bad. The fans think it's bad. Sometimes it's anything but bad.
Understood. And you got to have, and as you say, I've been around for a while, and I've been dealing with fans on phones for 30 plus years. Everyone wants to make a definitive decision 2 minutes after the card is handed in.
So,
what a great pick. Oh my God. What a god awful pick. How the hell could they do something like that? And you and I both know that sometimes it takes a year or 2 or 4 or 6, or in the case of Brandon Graham, 8 or 9 down the road before you go, hold on, let's revisit this. Let's take a look at this again. And you're right, Brandon Graham has held up his end of the bargain, although many people on draft night thought it wasn't a great pick. Many people, when the Seattle DB led the Seahawks to a Super Bowl victory, Earl Thomas said, and we took Brandon Graham. Well, but as long as they're both continuing to play, the evaluation continues as well. And Brandon Graham has absolutely swung the pendulum. So even though, yes, on the day after the draft, on the Monday after, you and I will be on here overanalyzing the Eagles picks, their draft, and everything else. But we're smart enough to put out the codicil that we'll continue to revisit this over the next however many years is necessary to give a definitive grade to a draft pick.
Well, and one thing I've already said on this show, Jody, is that the job doesn't end when you hand into that card. I think too many fans assume, you got a good player or a bad player. And player development is a big part of this. And one of the things I think you you could validly criticize Doug Peterson and staff for was player development. I don't think it was great. I often go back to 1999 and I think to myself, what if Tim Couch or Achilles Smith, what if they ended up with Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb went to another organization with a crappy coaching situation? How do things shake out? Scheme matters, organization matters, coaching matters. A lot of things play into it.
Let me ask you one quick thing, and we got John Clark joining us in about 5 minutes of show. So here on Birds 365. I did see this got a lot of burn yesterday. Social media, a couple columns on Twitter and the like, a lot of people responding about the evaluation of the Carson Wentz trade. Not the trade to the Indianapolis Colts, but the trade that landed Carson Wentz here in Philadelphia 5 years ago when Howie Roseman positioned and aggressively got to a point where he got to number 2 in the draft and took Carson Wentz. Well, the Carson Wentz era, we know, is now over. The Eagles will get to cash in those draft picks, one this year, one next year. We know it could be a 2, could be a 1. So the evaluation will even continue after Carson Wentz is left. But we know what Carson Wentz, what the Eagles did during the 5 years that Carson Wentz was here. Some arguments are made that it was a bad deal. Some arguments made that, hey, Super Bowl is a Super Bowl, and Carson Wentz was a major contributor to that, even though he didn't play in the actual game itself. It's a good, fun debate and a good argument to have. Are you definitive one way or the other whether the Carson Wentz trade was good or bad?
Yes, it was a good trade for the Philadelphia Eagles. 1960, Jody. They had never won it. There's a Lombardi trophy in the NovaCare complex. They were 11-2. Carson Wentz was going to be the MVP. For that year alone, getting him helping this team get in a position to make a run in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. That's it. It's over. And by the way, Jared Goff was a good pick for the Rams as well. If you look at how many games they won, they reached the Super Bowl. Did it work out as long as you hoped for? No. But overall, they got a Lombardi trophy. That's it. There's one. That's a successful trade. You would make that trade again and again and again. And I'm happy the smart fans came to the defense. And most Eagles fans are smart fans, and they came to the defense of that trade as they should have.
I agree that it was a winner, that you got to do it again, that when you come down to the bottom line, thumbs up, thumbs down, it's got to be a thumbs up. It's just that it's not a prolific thumbs up because of the way that things ended. But
that's how things happen. Injuries, if the injuries didn't happen, we'd probably have a different conversation right now. The shelf life wasn't as long as you would have liked, no question. It ended badly, but that doesn't change the fact that they got where everybody wanted them to get. Finally. It's a success.
Correct. He is John McMullen. I am Jody McDonald. We're going to add another J to the mix. Johnny Happy going to join us next. Johnny Sunshine. John Clark of NBC Sports is going to jump aboard Birds 365. Stick around.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods, your vacation, your way.
The middle. So, bro, I know we're going to get on that, but I got to say happy birthdays to the kids in the stream. You know what I'm saying? We checking it out. Happy birthday to your kids, man. You know what I'm saying?
To who?
The kids, man. I'm watching the stream, man.
What stream?
It's double birthdays.
You got to keep your eyes off that stream. Yeah, seriously. You have a conversation with the stream, and nobody has any idea what you're talking about.
You got to give us a heads up.
Get you hip to it.
Because
I gotta get you hip to it.
No.
We have no idea what you're talking about. So now we're in the middle of something, and it's like, whoa. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to who? I have no idea what's going on right now.
I can just imagine people listening on Sports Map Radio just like, what did he just say? Who's he talking
action
to?
reel. Play action reel. His son Nick. Happy birthday, bro.
All right. Now everybody's got a birthday. Joey B's daughter, 16 today.
Yeah.
Calling BS today.
Seriously, this is like AC Green selling that he was a virgin back with Showtime.
The Middle with Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, and Harry Mays. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.